Our cleaners are coming today, and they usually come pretty early, so it's going to be a quickie today. Sephora Tint and Volume Brow Gel in Taupe. If I can get the brow in taupe, that's what I get. And I figured today I would talk to you about service dogs. And maybe you didn't know, we breed, raise, and train Golden Retriever service dogs through Hope Service Dogs, which is our 501c3 nonprofit. So I could either talk about my first service dog and how I got into it, or how we got into the Hope, how training started or how Hope started. So I figured we'd go chronologically and talk about when training started. I got diagnosed at 19 with dysautonomia. And at the time, it was neurocardiogenic syncope, which was always a mouthful. And I'd tell people, they're like, it's a what? Can you repeat that? I had it since I was 19. I had it since I was in the single digits. I've been passing out. And what it is it's a problem with your autonomic nervous system, where things that you don't have to think about is your autonomic nervous system. Digestion, staying vertical whenever you stand up. All the fun stuff that goes with it is all wonky. So I remember passing out when we lived in Freeport, Pennsylvania. So that would have been when I was under the age of 10. It was summertime, and I had to go to the bathroom, so I went in the house. Now, we didn't have central air. This was in the 80s. We didn't have central air. We had window units sometimes, downstairs and upstairs, maybe fans and maybe a hall window unit for all the bedrooms. But I was in the bathroom, going to the bathroom, and I woke up on the ground of the bathroom, woke up on the floor of the bathroom, thinking, boy, I must have been tired to fall asleep in the bathroom. I must have been tired. And I went outside, and I don't know how much time had passed. Enough time that, I had a hard time finding where my friends were. My family, we were all outside doing stuff that day. And I was like, okay, I just must have been really tired. It wasn't that. That was when I passed out. I passed out in Connecticut because we moved there when I was 10. I passed out in Connecticut, and I was not allowed to lock the bathroom door when we lived there. If I was in the bathroom for a hot shower, I'd pass out. So I had to tell people before I took a shower, and I had to not leave the door open, but not lock it. That was Charlotte Tilbury's Flawless Filter in shade 3 Fair. And I took the little plug stopper thing out yesterday because it was getting harder to reach it and to swipe and to get good stuff. So you see how much product I got. Westman Atelier foundation stick. Put it on like my cat. Meow, meow. I got diagnosed. I was 19 years old. And a friend and I had gone to Indian Summer in Milwaukee, because we lived in Wisconsin at the time. We'd gone to Indian Summer, and you're supposed to stand up for the intro. Okay, so it was August or September, so it was warm outside, even for Milwaukee. And even though we were lakefront, standing up, when it was so warm outside, and I believe I had worn black jeans, so I was even warmer. And next thing I know, that I'm coherent and remembering, I'm in an ambulance on the way to the hospital. Now, I was 19, so like mid-90s. 95 it must have been, and we didn't have cell phones. Like, my dad had a car phone because he needed it for work, so like people had pagers and thought they were all that in a bag of chips, and they weren't. It was just funny. The one time I had to have a pager for a job, I hated it, because when it goes off, you'd have to go find a payphone, which were phones that you used to have to find out in public and put in money and then make a phone call. I called up, so my parents were coming to meet us at the hospital. I remember them telling me, don't sign anything. And I remember whenever I got to the hospital, they were trying to shove stuff at me to sign constantly. And I'm like, no, I'm not signing anything. Like, I was so out of it. They did testing. They didn't know. So when they released me, I had to go see a cardiologist in Waukesha, which is where we were living. Concealer is House Labs. I went and saw this specialist. I did a tilt table test. And he's like, you have neurocardiogenic syncope, which is dysautonomia. I had to start meds, but it was Norpace is what they were prescribing in the mid-90s for it, because it was really unknown at the time. Trust me, this all ties together. So I had to go to the hospital for 3 days for them to monitor me while they started me on Norpace. Can you imagine that now? You have to go to the hospital to start meds like that. Because it was that or it was a pacemaker. I did the Norpace, repeated the tilt table test, and I was still passing out, and I was still fighting the passing out. And the doc says to me, well, I think that's as good as we're going to get for now. It's like, really? That's what I get, is this is as good as we're going to get. Okay. Charlotte Tilbury Compact. He put me on either Zoloft or Paxil, and then he changed up and did the other one. So whenever doctors would ask, what meds are you on? And I told them I was on Norpace, which no one had ever heard of, and, either Zoloft or Paxil. Oh, are you depressed? No. Oh, honey, you're depressed. Why are you depressed? You can tell me. And I'm like, no, it's for the heart meds to make it work better. No, it's not. That's not why they work it. I'm like, are you a cardiologist? No, because, sometimes it was normal docs or pharmacies or whatever. Oh, this is the white Charlotte. It didn't stop the passing out. And whenever Rich and I got married, I met him when I was 19. So I met him like just a couple months after this whole thing went down, right? And we were still dealing with it. So there were times I'd be really bad for 6 weeks maybe, and I couldn't do anything. I can get up, but I can't go out and have fun, and that's where the part-time wheelchair use comes in handy. Because now I can, even whenever I'm having wonky days, I'm not bedridden. It's hard, and it's hard having a disability, especially an invisible one where people think that, you're normal or attention-seeking. Patrick Ta, I got off of it to get pregnant, got pregnant with Luke, and I didn't get back on it because at the time they were using other medicines. We tried some of those other meds, and they didn't work at all. When Rich and I were first married, I started looking at potentially getting a service dog. For the rest of the story, go to part 2. We're going to start with eyes, and it's going to be the Patrick Ta Major Dimension 1 palette.